Whew, that iPhone 15 sure can heat up a room. Hi, welcome to ZGadgetReview. I recently did a video talking about how possibly the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max have a fatal flaw where the new design is causing the back glass of the phone to be weaker than it should be. I'm going to link the video in the description section in case you want to watch that. Well, it seems that the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are on their way to infamy. And the reason is because now there are reports about this phone overheating so much that it's hard to handle. Now, there's been reports that the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are overheating by doing just simple tasks like browsing, doing like text messaging, stuff like that. Some people said that even by the phone just being idle, it felt a little hotter than it should. The phone also gets hot while it's charging. YouTuber from Korea, Bull's Lab, decided to test out the phones to see how hot they could get. He used a forward-looking infrared camera or flare camera to see how hot the phone was getting. And the amount of heat coming off these devices is just almost borderline dangerous. As you can see on these images, the phones got between 42.8 Celsius and 46.7 Celsius. Now, if you don't know what that translates to Fahrenheit, since we are in the US, that means that this phone can get between 109 degrees and 116 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hot. Now, this isn't the only person who has tested out how hot these devices can get. Android Authority decided to run their own testing comparing the phone to the Pixel 7 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. And the phone does get hotter than those two other Android devices, not by a lot in some occasions, but they were able to actually replicate the 70-degree temperatures that the phone can reach. This all comes from Android Authority, and on idle, the phones seem pretty close to each other temperature-wise. Once they are using YouTube to stream content for 10 minutes, we start seeing some difference, but again, the jump in difference isn't that huge. Then we have, when it comes to web browsing, about 10-minute use. The temperatures seem to be around the same as when doing YouTube. Things change, I will say, pretty drastically when it comes to CPU benchmarking, and that's a 10-minute test as well. As you can see there is 1 degree difference between the Samsung phone and 1.2 difference with the Pixel. Now, when it comes to GPU stress testing, this is where things get really, really hot. And this is something that your phone will be using and doing while you're gaming. So seeing how Apple is trying to position this device as a future gaming device, a premium gaming device, and we'll get to that in a minute, this spells some problems for that future. So here we have GPU stress test, 5 minutes, 38.4 Pixel 7 Pro having the lowest temperatures, 39.9 the Samsung, 41.4 the iPhone. Now we move into a 20-minute test of GPU stress tests. That's where we see the iPhone getting the closest to the max temperatures the Bull's Lab was able to get in their video. And here we see 47.4, 44.7, 41.5. Here all three devices are at 40 or more degrees, by the Pixel 7 keeping the coolest temperatures, and shooting up to the top almost closest to 50 degrees is the iPhone. Now when it comes to 4K 60 frames recording for 5 minutes, again, the iPhone takes the cake here by going as high as 4 degrees over the Pixel 7 Pro, which holds the highest temperature out of the Android devices. Then we have same type of recording, but this time for 10 minutes, and it goes all the way to 43 degrees, while the other devices stay below 40 degrees. This makes a huge difference on you being able to use the phone, on you being able to hold the phone, and being able to work with the phone, which, as I said on my video when the announcements happened, that's what Apple is positioning these devices. They're positioning as content creator devices, as work devices. You don't need to buy a regular camera, just buy your iPhone and use your iPhone as your camera. Having a phone that gets this hot, it's a problem for that, because that means that your phone could start having issues while it's recording. You might have to stop recording to let it cool down, which might take time away from your shooting schedule. It's not the most ideal situation. It doesn't only get hot there, it also gets hot when it's charging. According to Android Authority, they were able to clock the outside of the device, not counting how hot the internal battery is, because they cannot open the phone to actually record the temperature of the battery. So the outside case got as hot as 36.1 degrees Celsius on the iPhone 15 Pro, and the Pro Max got as hot as 40.2 degrees Celsius. That is way too freaking hot. Whoa, what was that? Oh, that was just an iPhone exploding in the future. But don't worry, some people have come up with some solutions that should allow you to make your over $1,000 phone not get so hot that you might burn a hole in your leg, pocket, arm, hand, whatever part of your body this phone might touch. One, you could enable auto brightness. Oh, this other one you're going to love. This coming from the company that got rid of the headphone jack because Bluetooth is better. You can disable your Bluetooth antenna on your phone. That should help you with the heat issue on your over $1,000 device. Other solutions that people are thinking could be helpful is closing any application that could use your location, right? That uses your GPS antenna for location. So for example, Safari, for example, your navigation, for example, wouldn't you just turn off your geolocator antenna? Wouldn't that be the easiest solution? Other ones you're going to love is maybe disabling your Wi-Fi and also turning off AirDrop. So why don't you just buy the phone, put it out of its case, set it on a table, and don't freaking touch the thing. Just let it sit there, look at it and go like, oh, look how beautiful my phone is. Now, these solutions are coming from the people who have done testing on these devices, and they're offering recommendations on how to attenuate the high temperatures on the device. This doesn't come from Apple. This isn't officially from Apple. And the reason is because Apple hasn't acknowledged that this isn't even an issue. Apple hasn't said a word about either the back glass breaking or the overheating of the device, all right? This reminds me of back when the iPhone 4 came out, and people were having issues where their service will cut off when they held the phone like this, like you normally hold the phone. And people were complaining that their phones were losing service by holding that. People started calling it Antennagate. And the reason is because Apple back then decided to put the antenna on the outside frame. And so when you held the phone, if you had a big hand that covered the phone pretty much, it meant that the phone couldn't get service. The antenna didn't work. And back then, Apple took, I think, about a month, if not a little longer, to accept that there was an issue with the phone. But their denials were huge when people started complaining about this. To go as far as Steve Jobs was around back then, to say that you weren't supposed to hold your phone like this, you're supposed to hold the phone like this or like this. No, you're supposed to hold the phone whichever freaking way you want to hold it, as long as it's comfortable for you to use, because you're paying for a device to work, not to have a flaw that you cover the phone and the antenna doesn't work. It also had two pieces of glass on the top and the bottom, and of course that glass will break every time you drop the phone. It made it so Apple had to refund people who had purchased bumpers, and they had to give people free bumpers. To me, if this thing continues with the iPhone 15 Pro and we see that these problems escalate, then I wonder how long Apple is going to take to say something. I wonder what Apple is going to do to make sure that people's phones work, because you're paying $1,000 to over $1,000 for a device. You shouldn't have to turn off your Wi-Fi or your Bluetooth or set up your auto dimming screen or auto brightness screen. You shouldn't have to do any of that. You should be able to use the phone whichever way you freaking feel like using the phone, because you paid a good amount of money for this device that was advertised to work in a specific way. Now, why could this be happening? Well, we have well-respected Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, who actually has an explanation on why he thinks this might be a problem. My survey indicates that the iPhone 15 Pro series overheating issues are unrelated to TSMC's advanced 3nm mode. The primary cause is more likely the compromises made in the thermal system designed to achieve a lighter weight, such as the reduced heat dissipation area and the use of titanium frame, which negatively impacts thermal. Now, what this is referring to is the A17 Pro chip inside the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max. These phones are the first phones to use 3nm processors in combination with using titanium that might not be able to dissipate the heat properly. I would like to assume and believe that Apple has done enough research about the heat dissipation of titanium, that they have created enough space in that case and used enough materials to be able to dissipate the heat that is going to come from those chips. Remember, as I said earlier, this device is being also targeted to people who play video games, and they're targeting people who can play console games on this phone. So to try to sell this device again, to be able to be a workhorse for people, not only when it comes to filmmaking, not only when it comes to gaming, not only when it comes to pictures, I would assume that they would have, done their work when they were developing the device. And so to me, it's a little hard to believe that Apple could have been so reckless or so careless or have so little oversight about the development of the phone and just decided, yeah, we're going to use this chip that is going to be the Pro chip, and we're just going to put titanium on it because it's going to sell people on the phone. Obviously, this guy most likely knows more than I do. So that's just my 2 cents. It's expected that Apple will address this through software updates, but improvements may be limited unless Apple lowers processor performance. If Apple does not properly address this issue, it could negatively impact shipments over the product life cycle of the iPhone 15 Pro series. Now, what does this mean? This means literally that Apple will have to change the performance on the chip, which might affect what some of the things that they're trying to sell that this phone can do. For example, console level games on the phone and other things. If they don't lower the performance, that means that this phone is going to continue to overheat. Will it overheat as much as it does now? Probably not if you can fix it through software, but this might be a device that continues to run hot even after they do some software updates. So this is kind of a big issue. I will say this is a bigger issue than the whole problem with the back glass breaking, if it holds true, right? We have some reports, there is some testing, and I am leaning towards the fact that this is actually a problem that Apple should do something about. But I don't think Apple's going to do anything anytime soon because they don't have to. Because people are so loyal to Apple. People are so just blind to the dumb things that Apple does. That is sometimes it's hard for me to believe that people cannot see that a company doesn't have your best interest, but they have their best interests, right? They're trying to sell you a product and make money out of you. At the end of the day, as I said on my videos time and time again, the only person who can make a decision on purchasing something is you. The only person who can teach a company that they need to do better for the consumer is you. And the only way you can do that is not buying the products. Because at the end of the day, guess what? If I don't buy a product, if we don't buy the product that someone's trying to sell us, that company either has to make changes to make the product better for us to buy it, or the company disappears. What do you think about these heating issues? Do you have an iPhone 15 Pro and are you seeing any overheating issues? Let me know in the comment section, or if you have any other comments about iPhones or Apple or whatever it is you might have a comment about, let me know in the comment section. That is it for me. Go ahead and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, it really helps the channel. Go ahead and hit the bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. And thank you very much for watching.